Hey everyone, welcome. Get comfortable, and let's get into tonight's Reddit stories. A mom lets her adult son and his girlfriend live with her rent-free, and the girlfriend starts saying thank you by cooking dinner every night. But when those thank you dinners turn into multiple grocery runs and expensive steak nights on mom's card, one conversation at the sink leaves everyone embarrassed and offended. Now this mom is wondering if setting a grocery budget makes her the bad guy. Am I the asshole for giving my son's girlfriend a budget for the dinner she's making? My son, 23, male, graduated university back in June and moved back across the country to live with us after he found a job in the area. He's been in a long-distance relationship with his girlfriend, Carmela, 21, female, up until October. She had initially taken a semester off from college and was living with her mom. However, she's decided she's not going back. Her mom told her she would have to move out, and she had nowhere to go. My son is moving into his own place in January and had already invited her to move in with him, saying she could get a job in the area. But she needed to move out sooner, and they both asked me if she could move in with us in the meantime. I agreed. Neither of them are paying rent because I personally don't believe in charging my kids to live here. So it felt wrong to charge Carmela anything either. I just asked that they clean up after themselves and be respectful of everyone. They agreed. Carmela moved in after Halloween, and she's been a joy to have here. She's still looking for a job. Most nights, she's offered to cook dinner as a way to give back to us. I've always told her it's not necessary, but she insists. She's a good cook, so I tell her if she wants to, have at it. About a week into her living here, she mentioned wanting to make a certain dish, but we didn't have the ingredients. I offered to give her my card so she could buy groceries. Since then, it's become a regular thing. I didn't mind it initially. She picked up my groceries as well, and it seemed to be a good deal all around. But then, a couple of weeks in, she started wanting to make multiple trips a week and buy things that I normally wouldn't budget for on a regular basis, such as steak and seafood. I asked her on Sunday when she went to the store to please get everything she needed in one trip. She said, okay. I thought that solved the problem. Cut to Monday night and we finished dinner. She and my son are talking while I'm doing the dishes. Carmela mentions wanting to make steak on Thursday. My son says that sounds good. Carmela says she'll have to go back to the store. My son turns to me and says, Mom, give her the card. I tell them no. I say I already gave her money to go shopping on Sunday and told her to get everything she needed. I also said we can't swing everyone having steaks this week. There are 6 people in the house, but maybe I can make them for Christmas dinner. I then go on to say that if Carmela wants to keep cooking for us, which I appreciate, I am going to put her on a budget. I apologize for not doing it sooner. Carmela looks upset, and my son seems offended. Later on, my son tells me I embarrassed Carmela when she's just trying to be nice. I said I appreciate her cooking dinner, but she's doing it on my dime, and I can't afford this. I pointed out he's free to give her money to do this. My son pointed out they're only here a few more weeks, and asked, can I just make my guest happy? Am I really in the wrong here? Reddit's top response says that regardless of Carmela's intentions, treating the homeowner like an unlimited bank account for groceries is disrespectful. Setting a cap on food expenses is totally reasonable. This commenter suggests sitting both of them down, telling Carmela you love her cooking and would be happy to plan meals with her, but that everything has to stay within a budget because you don't have a money tree in the backyard. And if your son complains again, they say to ask him if he plans to give her an unlimited food budget when they move in together. His attitude might change fast. Another highly upvoted comment goes with, no assholes here. They point out that at 21, Carmela may have had no idea the arrangement was becoming a problem, and a lot of people that age are clueless about grocery budgets. She's probably embarrassed, and that's okay. Feeling bad when you accidentally overstep is normal, especially when someone is already doing you a favor by housing you. You're completely within your rights to set boundaries about your food budget, especially with how expensive groceries are now, and it sounds like you did it kindly. But your son, they say, needs a reality check, and moving out will likely be eye-opening for both of them. A third top comment says you're not the problem, and neither is Carmela, but your son is. He has a job, doesn't pay rent, and still isn't funding any of these fancy ingredients. The way he said, "Give her the card," really rubbed this commenter the wrong way. In their view, he's already getting a pretty sweet deal living at home for free, and he seems to be treating you like an ATM instead of a parent who has her own financial limits. What do you think? Was this mom right to put a budget on the dinners? Or should she have just let it slide for a few more weeks to keep the peace? Should the son be the one stepping up and paying for the extras if he wants steak nights? Let me know your verdict in the comments. Who, if anyone, is the real asshole here? Imagine being asked to help pay your parents' mortgage when they barely raised you, tried to sabotage your schooling, and even pushed for you to be sent abroad to dance for money. Then when your brother finally confronts you about why you're not contributing, you tell him the truth, and your entire family cuts you off. Am I the asshole for refusing to financially support my parents and explaining why when my brother asked? I, 38 female, have been living in a different state from my family for over 10 years now. I've supported myself that entire time and have rarely asked anyone for help. I didn't grow up with my parents. My grandmother was the one who supported and raised me, and I never had a close relationship with my mom and dad. Last year, I went on vacation with my siblings. During that trip, I found out that my youngest brother, 29 male, who actually makes the most money out of all of them, has been paying the mortgage and most of our parents' living expenses. He asked me why I wasn't helping financially. Since he asked me directly, I answered him honestly. I told him that our parents didn't support me growing up, and that I still remember when my grandmother asked me to write them a letter requesting financial support for my education. My mom wrote back to my grandmother saying she should teach me not to ask them for money, because what my dad earned was just enough for them and my 3 siblings. My grandmother let me read that letter, which I don't think my mom knows. I told my brother that I contributed financially when we immigrated, and that I paid rent when I lived with them for 2 years. I also told him I used whatever money I earned to help support my grandmother, the person who actually raised me until she passed away. After I moved to a different state, I've been completely on my own with zero financial help. Because of that history, I didn't feel responsible for supporting our parents now. Apparently, my brother told my mom. She confronted me via text and accused me of being disrespectful as a child. I explained my side and the experiences that shaped my feelings. She brought up times she believes I was disrespectful, including verbal and physical conflicts. I explained that these incidents didn't happen in isolation and were often triggered by her actions, like trying to persuade my grandmother to send me somewhere to dance for money, or deliberately ruining my school uniform by putting soy sauce on it. I told her she had not treated me like a mother should when I was growing up. The conversation didn't go well, and afterward my mom stopped talking to me. Eventually, the rest of my family did too. Now I'm basically no contact with all of them. I feel like I told the truth and set a reasonable boundary, but somehow I'm the one who ended up alone. So I'm wondering, am I the asshole for refusing to help financially and explaining my reasons when I was asked? For some extra context, first, just to clarify, my siblings paying most of my parents' mortgage isn't actually a hardship. The cost is split 3 ways between 2 brothers and 1 sister, and they all still live in my parents' home. I've never lived there and don't even have a room in that house, so I'm being asked to contribute to a household I was never part of. Their mortgage is under $2,000, which is cheaper than what most people pay for rent right now. My siblings divide that amount based on income. My youngest brother pays the most, and the other 2 split the rest. They also split utilities and groceries. My parents also receive fixed income from Social Security, which they use to travel back and forth between 2 countries. They're not struggling. They just want to keep the same lifestyle without adjusting their spending. I'm married, and we don't have kids yet. My husband and I set up our finances so that either one of us could cover all household expenses alone if necessary. That was intentional, so that if I get pregnant, I'd be able to stop working for a while without financial issues. My parents and siblings see that stability and assume it means I have extra money to give them, basically because my husband could support me. Realistically, they could sell their house and make a significant amount of money, which would easily support their retirement back in my home country. My siblings are in their late 20s and early 30s, so they're fully capable of moving out, renting their own places, and building their own independent lives if they wanted to. But that's not what they're choosing to do. Living together is simply cheaper for everyone involved, and it benefits all of them. That's their choice. But it doesn't mean I'm required to subsidize it. So no, I don't think I'm the asshole in this situation, which is why it's confusing to be treated like I am. About the soy sauce incident. Soy sauce was just the most accessible thing for her to use because it was one of our main seasonings at home. When I was a teenager, school meant everything to me. It was my escape, and the only path I saw toward a better future. Damaging my uniform wasn't random. It was the easiest and most effective way for her to hurt me. It was a big deal because I only had one uniform, which meant I had to hand wash it as soon as I got home, let it air dry overnight, and wake up early in the morning to iron it. That day, I basically had to hand wash it and then dry it using an iron just to make it to school. Think of it like someone deliberately pouring red wine on a wedding dress. It's meant to destroy the one thing they know matters most to you. And about the going abroad to dance thing. Yes, during that time, going abroad to dance was often used as a cover to lure girls into trafficking. It was presented as legitimate work, but many ended up exploited once they got there. I hope that helps clarify it. Reddit's top response was basically, "Your mom went no contact with you? That's not a punishment, that's peace and quiet. From their perspective, you're not the one at fault for stepping back from people who never really acted like parents in the first place." Another highly upvoted commenter pointed out that in some cultures, it's considered normal for parents to neglect or even abuse their kids, then later guilt-trip them into providing financial support. But in many other cultures, adults are expected to take care of themselves and their own retirement, and to support their children while they're minors. Not the other way around. They said if they were in your shoes, they wouldn't be too upset about being shut out by a family that neglected them and now feels entitled to their money. Someone else focused on the specifics. You weren't raised by your parents at all. Your mom tried to get you sent abroad to dance for money in a context that's often exploitative, and she even sabotaged your school uniform, something she knew was crucial to you. From that angle, they didn't see how you owed your parents anything beyond what you've already given. And the fact that your entire family cut you off over this just reinforced to them that you're probably better off without people like that in your life, even if it hurts. What do you think? Does OP owe her parents financial support despite not being raised by them? Or is she justified in drawing a hard line here? If your siblings were all living with your parents and wanted you to chip in for a house you never lived in, how would you handle it? Let me know your take in the comments, and if you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. A friendly optional office fund, a new job, and one simple question. Can I see where my money's going? What starts as a normal budgeting question turns into office tension, ignored messages, and a coworker whose attitude suddenly flips. Is this just awkward miscommunication? Or is something else going on behind the scenes? Am I the asshole for refusing to cover a shared cost after my coworker wouldn't show me the breakdown of what the money had gone towards so far? I, 24 female, recently started my first full-time job after graduating. My company has this optional team social fund where each member of our small department contributes a set amount every month. It's supposed to cover birthday treats, team lunches, and small surprises. It sounded harmless, so I joined when my coworker Liam asked. He manages the fund, and everyone just sends him their contribution directly. Not that I suspected anything. But last month, I asked if he could give me a breakdown of what the money had gone towards so far, because I'm trying to be better about tracking my spending. My mom drilled into me that I should always know where my money's going. He said, "Yeah, I'll get it to you later." He didn't. A few days later, he still hadn't sent anything, but he did remind me that my monthly contribution was due. I asked politely for the breakdown again. No reply. I waited a few days and sent a follow-up. Nothing. He responds to other messages in the work group chat, but mine about the fund get ignored. Last week, he came to my desk and said, "Hey, you still haven't sent your part for the fund this month." I told him I'd be happy to once I got the breakdown I'd asked for. Nothing complicated, just a list of what's been purchased with everyone's contributions. His whole demeanor shifted. He sighed loudly and said, "Nobody else needs this level of detail. It's supposed to be casual. You're making it weird." I told him it wasn't personal. It's just my budget and my comfort. He walked away mid-sentence. Now a couple of co-workers have hinted that I'm overthinking everything and making extra work for Liam. One even said I was being stingy for not just paying like everyone else. I'm starting to feel guilty, but it also seems like a basic thing to ask when I'm handing over money every month. So I'm wondering, am I the asshole for refusing to contribute again until he shows me what the fund is actually being spent on? The top commenters are firmly on one side here. The most upvoted response says you're not the asshole at all, and even suggests that Liam is either embezzling or at least mismanaging the fund. From their point of view, his defensive reaction and refusal to provide a simple breakdown makes it look like you're threatening his gravy train, which is why he's lashing out. Another highly upvoted comment calls this a hard NTA, and points out that if this were innocent, his response would have been completely different. They say a normal reaction would be something like, "Oh, I've never really tracked it, I'm sorry. If you don't want to participate this month, that's okay." Or, "I never thought to track it closely, but I probably should. I'll start and you can see it next month." Instead, he jumped straight to acting like you're the problem, which this commenter sees as classic deflection. In their view, that kind of over-the-top reaction usually means someone's trying to cover something up, or they're just being immature and entitled. Either way, they say he's not someone you should be handing money to. Another top comment keeps it even simpler. This is an optional social fund. Their advice is to stop justifying yourself, stop asking for details, and just say, "Sorry, I just started, it's not in my budget right now," and leave it at that. In their eyes, optional means that's the end of the discussion, and you're still not the asshole for opting out. What do you think? Is OP being reasonable for wanting transparency before paying, or is she overcomplicating a casual office fund? If this were your workplace, would you keep contributing, demand a breakdown, or just opt out completely? Let me know your verdict in the comments. Is OP the asshole or not? When your sibling asks for help at Christmas, how far are you actually supposed to go? Are you talking one big shared present or 9 individual gifts that completely blow your budget? This sister thought she'd found a fair middle ground, until one phone call turned the holidays into a full-on family standoff. Am I the asshole for not giving individual Christmas gifts to my sister's kids? Throwaway. So to start off, my sister and I are not close. Nothing happened. I don't think she's a terrible person or anything like that. We're just two very, very different people, and we live very separate lives. We text each other on birthdays, and we call each other once around the holidays. And that's it. We live thousands of miles away from each other, and it's been about 8 years since I've seen her and her family in person. I don't have kids, while my sister has always dreamed of a huge family, and she got her wish. Between her and her husband, they have 9 kids between the ages of 2 and 16. After my sister and her husband got married and the head count reached over 4, I decided to just start getting something for all the kids to share on Christmas. Some years it's been something for all of them to do, and some years it's been something like a gaming system. I figured it was probably nicer to get one expensive gift that they probably wouldn't have gotten, rather than 9 cheaper ones. My sister's never said anything about it, although I don't know how she really feels about this. A week back, I got a surprise call from my sister. She said money was super tight this year and was wondering if I could get all the kids something they can unwrap individually instead of one big thing. I asked her to send me their Christmas lists to see what that would look like. Most of the kids asked for really expensive electronic items, totaling well over $100 a kid. If I got everyone something from their list, that would come to well over $1,000. I haven't even met some of the kids, and I'm not even part of a religion that celebrates Christmas. So I thought that was a ton of cash to drop. I called my sister back and said, "Hey, I appreciate money is tight." Because, hello? It is. She's raising the next lineup for the Braves. Not that I said that. But I told her I'm just not in a position myself to spend over $1,000 on Christmas gifts. My sister got upset and said she just wanted to give the kids all something to open. I said I understood. But unless she was willing to let me know some cheaper options, I wasn't able to spend that much. We went back and forth for a while, before she snapped, called me a jerk, and hung up. We haven't spoken since. I appreciate the position she's in, but I just can't justify spending that much on Christmas presents. Am I the asshole? Top commenters were firmly on the side that the sisters' expectations were way out of line. One person said the narrator is not the jerk at all, and pointed out something a lot of viewers might be thinking. If OP actually bought all those expensive electronics, there's a good chance the From Aunt labels would mysteriously get swapped to Love from Mom and Dad. They suggested OP either stick to a single combined gift like usual, or, if they really want to do individual presents, go with something small and affordable for each kid, like pajamas, a book, hot chocolate, or a modest gift card. And they called out the sister's behavior as entitled, saying she's basically using OP as a walking gift card, especially since OP doesn't even seem to get thanks or photos of the kids enjoying previous gifts. Another commenter highlighted the core issue. The sister chose to have 9 kids. That was her decision, and she shouldn't expect anyone else to shoulder the financial burden of making Christmas big and flashy. They broke it down. Even if OP only spent around $20 per child, that's already close to $200, which is still a lot to ask of someone, especially someone who lives far away and barely has a relationship with the kids. And a third commenter kept it blunt. Not the jerk, because it's not up to the sister to dictate what gifts OP gives or how much they cost. The choice to have a large family doesn't entitle her to set OP's budget or turn OP into a holiday sponsor. What do you think? Does having a big family mean relatives should step up more at the holidays? Or was OP right to draw a hard line on the budget? If you were in this situation, would you do a shared gift, small individual gifts, or nothing at all? Let me know your verdict in the comments. And if you enjoy these Am I the Asshole stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. Picture this. It's Thanksgiving. You're at a crowded table with a bunch of people you're not even close to, and you've just gotten life-changing news. If you decide to keep that success to yourself, are you just being private? Or are you being rude? This is the story of one acceptance letter, one angry aunt, and a very awkward holiday. Am I the asshole for not telling majority of my family about my success at Thanksgiving? I'm 19 female, and I've been working toward a degree in dental hygiene. The program is extremely competitive. At my college, on average, about 300 students apply every year. Only 30 students get an interview, and 24 are accepted. 2 days before Thanksgiving, I got my acceptance letter. For some context, I'm a very reserved person. I prefer sharing exciting or important news with my closest family and friends. If I feel like I'm the one putting most, if not all, of the effort into a relationship, I tend to keep that person at arm's length. My aunt has been dating her boyfriend for about 3 or 4 years now. She's the one who hosts Thanksgiving and most of our other family events. For the past 2 years, her boyfriend's family has also been part of our Thanksgiving and other gatherings. I've tried getting to know them and build relationships with them. They're a nice family, but when I talk to them, I can tell they don't really care about building a relationship with me or my immediate family. Excluding my aunt, of course. Because of that, I've recently stopped trying to talk to them at family events. When they come into the house, they don't acknowledge me or my immediate family, and they don't try to start conversations unless I do it first. Fast forward to Thanksgiving Day. At that point, my mom, dad, brother, and boyfriend were the only people who knew about my acceptance into the program. My aunt likes to go around the table and ask everyone what they're thankful for. She started with me, even though I wasn't at the end of the table. I felt put on the spot, and seeing my aunt's boyfriend's family there made me freeze up a bit because I did want to share the news with my family, but not with my aunt's boyfriend's family. So I thought of something else to say. And then we continued going around the table. Later that night, right before my aunt's boyfriend's family was about to leave, I decided to finally tell my aunt. My boyfriend and I were on our way out to go visit his family for Thanksgiving. When I told her, she got extremely mad at me for not telling everyone at the table earlier when she'd asked what we were thankful for. She scolded me a bit, saying I should have told everyone then. She then announced to the whole house that I had been accepted. People came over to ask me about my acceptance, which I didn't mind at that point. But it's important to note that my aunt's boyfriend's family did not come over to ask about it. To me, that kind of proved my point, that it wasn't a big deal that I hadn't told them in the first place, since they clearly didn't care enough to come over even after my aunt announced it to everyone. I understand it's exciting news, and my aunt may have been excited for me, but I didn't want everyone to know. Am I the asshole for not telling the entire family about my success? The top commenter says OP is not the asshole. They point out that even without the weird family dynamics, it can actually come across as self-centered to drop a huge accomplishment when you're the first one speaking about what you're thankful for. Not everyone is going to have something that big to share, and OP has every right to decide what she wants to mention. In their view, the aunt was wrong to scold her. They do add that, practically speaking, OP might have avoided drama by waiting a few days to tell her aunt instead of telling her that night. Another highly upvoted comment congratulates OP and reinforces the same idea. It's completely up to her what she shares and with whom. From their perspective, the aunt is overreacting by treating this like some kind of offense. A third top comment also calls OP not the asshole and emphasizes that she gets to choose who to tell and when. They suggest OP might be overthinking the boyfriend's family, though. The commenter says the boyfriend's relatives aren't required to want a relationship with her, and she doesn't need to internalize their lack of interest so deeply. Their advice is basically, you're fine, relax, and don't let their distance get to you. What do you think? Was OP just setting a reasonable boundary about her own news? Or is it rude to keep something that big from the whole table when everyone's sharing what they're thankful for? And how would you feel about the aunt announcing it to everyone anyway? Let me know your verdict in the comments below.